welcome back to my kitchen. So today I'm very excited because I just harvested my Ewedu, which is popularly known as jute leaves. So I was about to pick them and cook them and store them, but I thought it's going to be a good idea to share my recipe with you, the recipe I actually grew up with. So come along with me and I'll show you how I grew up making it. For those who don't know, Ewedu is a leafy green vegetable, and we use that to make soup that we call Ewedu soup. So growing up, my mom taught me that whenever we want to make Ewedu, we have to pluck the leaves first. We have to make sure we don't pluck any stick together with it. And that is exactly what I'm doing. I've actually tried to pluck the stick together with the Ewedu, and trust me, the result was not too good. It resulted into soup. The soup was delicious, but I still have the sticks inside the soup, which is not a good thing. We want the soup to be really nice and smooth. I like to leave the pods on the sticks because at the end of the day, when I'm done with this production, I'm going to pluck the pods and spread them out to dry. And those pods contains the seed, which I will use to replant another set of Ewedu in the next summer. I can remember growing up, one of my favorite uncles taught me that when I want to make Ewedu, I should not just pluck it without the stick, but instead he told me that I should pluck it from the stick, then I should try to tear off the leaves around the vein that runs across the Ewedu leaf. We actually did it that way on that day, and we had the best Ewedu ever. But trust me, I really don't have time for this. I think that was just the first and last time I did that. But the Ewedu was so good. I can't forget that experience. The next thing to do now is to rinse our jute leaves. It always comes with sand. It's fresh from the garden. So I like to rinse it a couple of times. And along the way, I also like to kind of swirl the Ewedu leaves around so that the stones or debris can settle at the bottom. Then I carefully remove the leaves and I throw away any debris at the bottom of my bowl. To make Ewedu, we need just few ingredients. We need the salt, crayfish, locust bean, and bouillon powder. If you don't have the powder, feel free to use the cubes. It works just as well. It's now time to blend the jute leaves. I like to add the Ewedu first inside my blender. Then I add the crayfish and the locust bean. I add just a little bit of water to get the process started. It's better to blend it thick than to blend it too thin, because you can easily remedy it if it's thick, but once it's thin, you don't have any remedy for that. Just as a side note, I like to blend the locust bean and the crayfish together with my jute leaves. And the reason is because I have kids that don't like locust bean, so once it's blended with the Ewedu, nobody's going to know. And also, I like to have my soup so smooth without having any chunks inside the soup. Once the Ewedu is well blended, I like to pour everything straight inside my pot. And by the way, you can blend your Ewedu to the consistency you like. Some like it a little bit coarse, it's fine, but I like mine finely blended. And the type of blender you also use to blend the Ewedu will determine how fine the leaves are going to be blended. There is one thing we used to do while I was growing up to our Ewedu. Sometimes we don't use the blender. Actually, most times we don't use the blender. We used to use a broom. We call it ijabe. The broom is used to chop the Ewedu up and make it really nice. It has a kind of blending effect, but in a traditional way. And actually, I feel it's more flavorful because the smell of the broom kind of dissolves inside the Ewedu, and as you're eating the Ewedu, you are also smelling that traditional broom, and it makes a whole lot of difference. So I'm going to be cooking the Ewedu on a medium heat. As I cook along, you can see the color is gradually changing. The color was initially dark because of the locust bean I blended with it. And with time, as you can see, it's beginning to change into a bright green color. Also, if you don't get this bright green color for your Ewedu, it's fine. There are different species of Ewedu. Some will give you a deeper green color and some will give you a lighter green color. So depending on the variety you use, that's going to give you the final color of your Ewedu. So once the Ewedu comes to a boil, I'm going to add my seasoning. I'm going to be adding my salt and my bouillon powder. And I'm going to cook this further for another 5 minutes on a low heat. So that is it. My Ewedu is all done. As you can see, it's looking really nice, brightly colored, and it draws very well. Now, some people have some problem with their Ewedu drawing and they end up adding potash to their Ewedu. Although as a child, I grew up seeing my mom add potash to Ewedu. But as I grew older, I stopped adding that to mine because of the controversies that surround potash. That is a story for another day. So if you don't want to use potash and you are still finding it hard to get your soup to draw just like mine, you can add a little bit of baking soda. It goes a long way. It also helps to make your Ewedu draw nicely. So that being said, this is how I make my Ewedu. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, like my children will always say. So moving on, I like to serve this today with amala. Although you can serve this with any swallow of your choice, you can use pounded yam, fufu, eba, and name it. But growing up, I think I enjoyed it mostly using amala. With that said, I'm going to show you how I make my amala. I bring my water to a boil on a high heat. Then I lower the heat and I add my yam flour. As you can see, my yam flour contains some spices. I use that to preserve the yam flour from, bugs and whatnot. So when I want to use this, I just sift it and I return the spices back into the yam flour. I throw away the trash. So now I just pour this inside my hot water and I continue to stir as quickly as I can so that my amala does not develop any lumps. So once that is done, you can add a little bit of water to thin it out a little bit till you reach your desired consistency. So once that is done, I just take it off the heat. I make sure the amala is well cooked, mind you, before I take it off the heat. So this is my favorite part. Growing up, we sit down on a small stool, bring the pot of amala between our legs and start stirring it vigorously. But now, I don't do that any longer. What I do is just place it on my countertop and I stir it as vigorous as I can until it becomes really nice and smooth. And that is the way I was taught to make amala. So if you have a different way of making amala, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. We'll all love to learn from you. So that is it, guys. Look at me serving my amala and my Ewedu. So delicious. I'm going to taste this today, but I'm not going to be using my fingers. Although I grew up using my fingers to eat my native food, but because of all the perfect people on the internet, I have decided to use spoon today. So that is it. It tastes so good, so delicious. And if you try this recipe, I love to know how well you like it. And if you have other tips and tricks, feel free to share it with us in the comment section down below. After all, we are all learning. So that is it again for today. As usual, all the details you need for this recipe can be found in the description box below. Until next time, I'll talk to you shortly. Enjoy.